Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it's an honor to be here and to be a part of today's Republican Women's Policy Committee on this special order on national security. And I want to thank the gentlelady from North Carolina for bringing us together on this very important topic. I rise today to specifically address the President's attempts to strike a deal with both Iran and Cuba. First, Iran. After 4 missed deadlines, President Obama announced a deal this morning with Iran, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism and a nation whose Ayatollah famously called the United States the Great Satan. It was a deal praised by the likes of Syria and Russia and condemned by our allies such as Israel. And what's more, under the agreement, international inspectors must ask Iran's permission before reviewing its nuclear sites. By the way, after which Iran has 2 weeks to decide whether to even grant it. All told, Iran would have 24 days to drag out this process and conceal signs of noncompliance. Instead of peace through strength, this agreement amounts to unrest through appeasement. Under the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, Congress does have the power to vote down a bad deal that threatens our national security. And I believe this is a bad deal, and I intend to use what we can do to show the President we do not support this deal. Unfortunately, the President's efforts to cozy up to rogue nations doesn't end there. President Obama is attempting to normalize relations with Cuba. Here again, the President is clearly more interested in striking a deal, any deal, rather than the details of what's actually in the deal. Consider this. Cuba was listed as a state sponsor of terrorism until the end of May. And now the President wants to open up an embassy on the shores of Havana. So can you tell me what has changed? Just last week, I led nearly 20 of my colleagues in sending a letter to the President, citing a report from the Department of Homeland Security, which found more than 21,000 Cuban nationals with felony convictions living within our borders. And these individuals are rated by our Department of Homeland Security as a Threat 1 level, meaning that they are the worst of the worst. They have no legal status, as they have been given orders to be removed, but they're roaming our streets because Cuba will not take back its criminals. Madam Speaker, if the President insists on opening the door to negotiations with tyrants like Raul Castro, the very least he could do is to force this nation to follow the law on this simple matter and take back these criminals into his own country. Listen, when it comes to Iran and Cuba, the President must put national security and the well-being of the United States before his political legacy. Thank you again, my colleague and friend from North Carolina, for this special order today to bring these very important issues to the American people, and I yield back.
The gentlelady